Ooh, ooh, ooh. WDBFradio.com. WDBFradio.com.
Tell me, who wrote the book of love?
Welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf with your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein. Steve the Bookman Eisenstein has been involved in buying, selling, and appraisals of rare books since 1968. This show has been designed with making money for the listeners in mind. More people know the value of coins, stamps, objects of art, and collectibles they do not own than the values of the books in their home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Good morning, my fellow book lovers, and welcome to today's broadcast of Bucks on the Bookshelf. I'm your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein, and you are listening to us live on the WDBF radio networks. Take out something to write with, take out something to write on, and copy down this number, and you're going to have a chance to use it right away. 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. That's our call-in number to find out what your books are worth, other book-related questions. But right now, drum roll please, it's early bird trivia contest time. The prize is a 1933 edition in very good condition of the London Illustrated News. Boy, did we find a box of them before. The 1941s we're not giving away. They're a lot higher. But anyway, it shows you age doesn't have anything to do with value. So that's the prize. What is the question? Now that we have a new sound system going on, and I got to tell you, Captain Hook, the song today sounded clearer than it ever did. I mean, you know, who wrote the Book of Love? So that's the question. The theme song to this program is Who Wrote the Book of Love? Maybe we should change it to Who Sold the Book of Love, but tell me the name of the group that sang the song Who Wrote the Book of Love, and we will send you a 1933 edition of the London Illustrated News. 888-575-4394. My guest today is going to be joining us very shortly, and that's H. Alan Benowitz, or Alan to his friends, and I consider myself one of those. He is a great guy. We met right while we were working on this estate sale a few months ago, for the last few months. The next few months, you know, been working on this for a long time and will be. But anyway, Alan is an author, a writer, a photographer, and highly talented at all of those. His recently published book, we had spoken about before he's been on the show. But what has happened to him and his book in the last few weeks, I would say, is the equivalent for an author of winning a Powerball lottery. I've interviewed many authors on this show and others, and I have never heard of what happened. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but personally, with what happened to Alan, it's totally amazing. And on that note, he'll be joining us in a couple of minutes, so we will go from there. I got a couple of shout outs, okay? If anybody has material related to the Philippines, okay, vintage stuff, go into Facebook and look for a lady whose name is Joy Ann. I have had some really interesting conversations with her through Messenger as to what it's like, you know, and what they're looking for about Filipino material. If you saw some of my posts this week, we're not sure the deal is completely dead because of postage, but maybe it won't be a 20-pound box. For those of you who didn't see my post, and if you ever have a situation where you need some kind of comparative analogy, to mail a 20-pound box of books, paper, ephemera, whatever it might be, is $192.75. Break it in half, 10 pounds is still, that's a that's a deal killer, unfortunately. But Joanne, you seem like a really nice lady. I hope this might bring you some publicity over there. Um, a signed Marilyn Monroe photograph, 15 to 20K in auction, and drum roll again, Lord of the Rings, the 3 volume set just set the record, $250,000. So anyway, if you happen to have them, now you know what they're worth. Anyway, it gives me great pleasure to reintroduce to the audience H. Allen Benowitz, or Alan. Alan, as I said, has just gone through the most amazing experience an author could ever want. And Alan, for the sake of the audience that didn't hear it on the first broadcast, and by the way, we are running tape at 11 o'clock, but cleverly, Alan, for you, we have figured something out. We're going to run the last, if it fits in the time block, we're going to run the last interview with you starting at 11 o'clock for the 11 to 12 hours, so there'll be continuity. Welcome back, Alan. How did this come about? You have a most interesting story. What made you write the book? And more so, what happened in the last few weeks? I'm enamored and awed by it.
Well, um, my life was very memorable. My memory goes back to 2 years old. Um, my memory is percolated by years. If you give me a year, I can tell you where I was and what I was doing. I was born in Borough Park, and at 2 years old, I remember a bird flying into the bedroom, an open window, no air conditioning in those days. It got caught in my hair, and it was screeching, and I was screaming, but my parents could not hear me
Ah,
to death. And but the bird figured it out, got out of my hair, and flew away. But it was my earliest memory at 2 years old. My parents were separated when I was 1, 3, 5, and 7, and each time they had another child, not a good formula for an unstable marriage. My mother was a part-time beautician. She saw clients in the apartment. I remember these spaceship type helmets, which are hair dryers, ladies coming in. My father was a factory worker in the New York City Garment Center,
wow.
and could not afford to raise 2 households on his salary. A most startling and memorable experience happened one night at 10 o'clock when the welfare department came and picked up all 4 children. I was 7 years old. Haven't lived at home since then. We were transported to 3 different children's homes and shelters, and we were separated. I lived with my sister Marilyn, and I ended up in the Pride of Judea Children's Home, which was the best in the city, and that was a blessing in disguise under the circumstances. I was there until I graduated from high school in 1959, got a scholarship grant, went to business college, and got recruited to Miami as a court reporter in 1961.
Wow. You've been doing that a long time. I didn't realize that long.
Yeah, and but in my early memories in Coney Island, I can recall a fruit wagon, horse-drawn fruit wagon coming down the street with the clanking scales. My mother wanted to buy some fruit, and I translated for her. I had to learn at 6 years old American Sign Language and how to spell. Spelled and had short forms. But I noticed that the gentleman had his thumb on the scale. So I chewed him out. I became a protector of my mother at 6 years old. Um,
Well,
It was a blessing for me. It was a great place for a child to grow up. I was across the street from Steeplechase Amusement Park. I used to collect soda bottles for 2 cents refunds, deposit refunds, which funded my amusement on the scooter rides, the Wonder Wheel, and all the other rides in Coney Island, and treats such as Mellow Rolls and hot dogs at Nathan's, etc.
yeah, yeah.
Rides.
I won a contest as a newspaper carrier. They took us to Coney Island. You're bringing back a lot of memories.
Yeah, but the the silence was my first language, and it taught me how to listen in ways that others could not. What began as a challenge became my greatest strength, proof that life speaks volumes in the quietest moments, and it made me stronger. It was like the boot camp of life for me. And in the first children's home, it's called Children's Center in Manhattan, we were the only Jewish family of 4 out of 250 kids, and we were not treated well. I learned about anti-Semitism too early in life. However, my counselor, Veronica, I remember her very vividly, very pretty, took note of this and arranged for a social worker to get us out of there. And then I went to the children's day and night shelter in the Bronx for about 6 months before I got up to the Prodigy Children's Home, where I stayed till I graduated from high school. And the circumstances that brought me there were really a blessing in disguise. I never claimed victimhood because it made me stronger, and I learned a lot in the process. I had mentors, which I listened to. Many kids don't, but I did, because I felt that they already made their mistakes and learned from them. Why should I make my mistakes? I learned from them. And we had counselors at the children's home. I had social workers. We had Hebrew school on the premises, infirmary, dance classes, music lessons. And we had benefits that many children of intact families did not. So I feel fortunate, even though it was an emotional experience growing up that way.
You have had that, I've heard you, we've talked in person, we've talked before, but, and this is a compliment, you've really, in having done bookstores and other things and talking to people about it, you really captivated it. What you're describing, you've said before, but since you've talked about it to people more, this version of it is just amazing. I mean, it's just perfect ebb, flow, tie together and all that. So this is part, I guess we would call that the introduction to the book. So if you are interested, how can people, the most important thing, and then let's move it forward, and that is, how can people reach you off air? The book is phenomenal. You can hear the way Alan is talking about it. I mean, you want to hear more. You really have made a good presentation on this. How can people reach you?
First of all, you're most generous. Thank you.
Truth.
It can be ordered online at Amazon.com by typing in Child of Silence, A Blessing in Disguise. And the book looks like this, the cover.
Please.
That's the parachute ride. And the one.
Bring it up a little more. Bring it up a little more. There we go.
That's the Ferris wheel and the parachute ride in Coney Island on the boardwalk. It's an icon of New York City in Brooklyn, Coney Island. Where
You're my Coney Island baby, another doo-wop song. Excellent. So, go ahead, Alan. Go ahead. Well,
the background and hunger and thirst for something better instilled in me a drive within me to desire overcome my shortcomings, and it motivated me to get the most out of life. I've been very fortunate. I've developed a lot of skills because of necessity. When I became a court reporter, I was a natural at it.
Because you're a good listener.
Silence helped me a lot. My parents' handicap became my asset.
Yeah.
And I became very creative of necessity and applied that to business.
Let me change the subject for a second, if I may, because we've given everybody enough about the book and you to really want to read more. But I'm telling you, Alan, I don't think I said this to you directly, but I'm saying it now because I said it in the promos. What happened to you in the last month or so with how your book is getting out on the market now. If I had to make an analogy about it, I would say, as a writer, you hit the writer's Powerball lottery. Okay? You're a guy that wrote a book that was well received regionally, that suddenly became more than regionally, it became nationally, it's becoming internationally. And now the punchline for the audience, so to speak. When you told me who, I wanted them to hear it from you. This is a man who started out with a book. He did all of this work pretty much so on his own, publicity and all of that. He had some help from friends. And there's a word in Hebrew, it's called bashert. It's supposed to be. Tell him what happened to you about how your book is going to be seen around the world now.
Well, I was fortunate in having my first talk and book signing at Books and Books in Coral Gables, run by Mitchell Kaplan, the foremost book store in Florida. And
Might say that about the world with what he's done.
This is great. Anyway, on the worst weather of the year, thunderstorm, 30 to 40 people showed up. And I was very flattered by that and encouraged. I had an interview with Meredith Port, who was the former director of WLRN. I had a national book review that was published in the Miami Herald at the end of June. 2 days later, U.S. News sent out a newswire nationally after reading the review, and book sales started to improve. And I'm very flattered when people read it. I'm gratified. I've got only 5-star reviews on Amazon, and I have a fine art photography exhibition coming up in January at the JCC in Boca Raton Museum and Gallery. However, the curator saw my book, and she said she's going to devote the last hour of the exhibition to a book talk and book signing. And that will be on January 8th at the JCC in Boca Raton. It'll be a month-long exhibition. So there's a segue from my photography to the book and the stories about my early life, which propelled my development.
And you left out the best part of it. You're going into the major department stores. How did that happen?
Well, a publishing company saw the national review of my book and contacted me, and they've arranged to have my book available at most of the major booksellers around the United States. Barnes & Noble, Walmart, the database will be available on their websites as well, including the UK and Europe.
Alan, let me ask you a question. Initially, when the book came out, it was POD, right?
Yeah, it is. You order it.
Yeah, but you didn't have 1,200. So my question is, are they doing it POD, or are they going to actually print copies and they're going to be in the stores?
No, they will. Amazon prints on demand. They keep a small inventory, and you can get it in 2 or 3, 4 days. As far as Barnes & Noble and Walmart, I don't know yet. I was told that it will be on their website, and you can order it directly from their website. They will probably publish it on demand. I gave them my manuscript.
Okay, I filled in the gap to my own questions. Again, if you read the blurb about me from 8 years ago, I have an what was the word he used? Epiphany, whatever, about computers and things like that. So I didn't take into consideration. So now when you go to a bookstore, you can go into an online catalog, and books that aren't in the store, you can order from them, even if it's a POD.
Yes, those that have it on their database.
Yeah, okay. I got you. That's going to be interesting to track. How has it gone? Do you get we got to hit a commercial. Stay on the line, Alan. We can spend it.
Home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Welcome back, book lovers. We are talking about books, publishing, and the little bit of luck needed in any book-related venture with Alan Benowitz. Got questions for us? 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. A little reminder, this show is played this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. It's played tomorrow, Sunday, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 3 to 5 p.m. and Monday from 1 to 3 a.m. 888-575-4394 is our call-in number. Want to win a 1933 edition of the London Illustrated News? All you got to do is answer this trivia contest question. Be the first caller with the right answer, that is, at 888-575-4394. What's the name of the group that sings the theme song to this show? The song is Who Wrote the Book of Love. Alan, before we go back to serious book talk, I got to ask you a funny question. Doo-wop rock and roll. When I hear this song every Saturday for the last 11 years, it never gets tired. There's something about it that kind of gives you goosebumps from like your first dance at Teen Center or something. I mentioned something earlier and I caught a quick smile on your face. The song Coney Island Baby. You know that song, right?
I'm familiar with it. Don't remember all the words. I haven't sung it in a lot of years.
When I hit that title, did that like make a happy, giggly memory thought that flashed by at the speed of light, or no?
Not quite that fast, but yes.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
The doo-wop years were wonderful years because those were formative years growing up, and the tunes were very catchy.
And they're not controversial. Nobody ever got killed. The only person that ever got killed in a doo-wop song was ironic. The song was called Last Kiss by J. Frank Williams. And it was the one where she ran back to the car that was stuck on the railroad tracks to get the high school ring out, and she got creamed in the train crash, okay? That's why they call it Last Kiss. But the irony in life with that, 2 weeks after that song was number one, J. Frank Williams actually died in a car train accident. All right, enough with the doo-wop rock and roll. Let's go back. It's my favorite.
I've got a Coney Island Baby, but it's a Lou Reed. Is that
no, you're my Coney Island baby. I love you, I do.
I'm looking for it.
Okay, yeah. I can't remember the name of the group, so it was one of those like, the Marcells, the Cadillacs. I can't remember the name. Actually, I have a book right behind me. I could probably get it during the break. But my Coney, maybe not your, just try Coney Island Baby.
Yeah. Well,
without the "your" in it.
Growing up in Coney Island was very memorable. And
yeah, I actually remember is the Newsday carrier. Island baby, I love you, I do. Thank you. Oh man. Oh, thank you, man.
Very funny.
Wow. Wow, that was like a buzz.
Taking your request here. Call on in.
Thank you. Oh, man. I miss doo-wop. We used to have doo-wop stations here. It's the only thing.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
In the break, we talked about something. As far as the book goes, it's a very quick read. All the chapters are very short, except for one. In 2005, I had a life-changing experience by getting a phone call from a lady that said, "Alan, I believe I'm your next sibling."
Nah.
Now, I didn't know my mother was pregnant. I just thought she gained some weight when we got my welfare. And she always wanted to meet her natural birth mother. And she was adopted by a nice family at 6 months. And they forbid her to do this because out of insecurity, I'm sure.
Huh.
But her mother gave her a hint. Her birth certificate said, baby Benowitz, Brooklyn born. Well, the article that was published about me in my segue from court reporting to fine art photography had my, as I said earlier, my phone number. And then she called me. And it was an amazing experience. She wanted to meet Mother, who was living in California in a retirement hotel that I placed her in. And I said, you have to meet my family in Miami first. And then 3 weeks later, we both flew out and met in Los Angeles, this retirement hotel. And I didn't tell my mother what was going on except she was getting a visit from me.
Oh, wow.
And I set the
Oh,
stage.
wow.
And I had some, I told her, Mother, after a visit for half a day, I said, Mother, a woman called me recently and she said she thinks she's my sister. Is that possible? And she froze.
Oh, wow.
You never forget a child, the birth of a child. Taken away because my Aunt Ida insisted that it be taken away because she could not raise a fifth child. And Bonnie and I are friendly to this day, but after setting the stage, and I said that, I said, we'll see you tomorrow morning after breakfast. I don't think she slept a wink that night.
Huh.
And Bonnie came across the street from the hotel the next morning as I was talking to my mother. And I showed her a picture of Bonnie. And she says, does she know about me? I said, yes. Where is she? Nearby. She said, I milked it. There's only a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a milker, man.
She's close by. She says, how close? Closer than you think. And finally, she came to the door jam of the library in which we were sitting on the couch. And I had this videotape, and I have it on DVD. And my mother had broken her hip not long ago before that, and the director of the facility said, she's the fastest walker in the place. She's very tough. And I said, Mother, meet your daughter, Bonnie. Bonnie, meet your mother for the first
my
time
sister's
in your
name.
life since
Wow.
childbirth. There was not a tear spared in the room. Box
my
was nearby, and my mother got up. I felt like Oral Roberts, like I healed her. She got right up and embraced her daughter. She said to Bonnie was, I'm sorry. That created a cascade of tears. And my mother has great penmanship. They communicated by writing. And before that, I sent Bonnie the American Sign Language alphabet.
Yeah.
Do some signing. And it was a very
Good
awesome
conversation.
moment.
So let me ask you a
Largest
question.
chapter in the book. The rest are all short.
Let me, okay. You, others, okay. 4 siblings, 4 brothers and sisters all together. You, the court, went into the court reporting business.
Became 5 with Bonnie.
5, right? Okay, 5. What did the other 4 wind up doing occupationally?
My brother Jason sold buttons in tourist destinations, Coney Island, Puerto Rico, and T-shirts with messages. And he was the best of the lot. I did not pursue the relationship after a certain point in time. When I moved to Miami, I would stay in touch. I was the older brother to look up to. They'd call me for advice. And I didn't put all this into the book because it was not as a positive, but to answer your question, I would give them advice. They would not take it. Then they'd call me for money. Now, I was just beginning my life down here, and I was married after a year and a half or 2 coming to Miami. And I didn't have much money, but I gave them what I could.
Yeah.
And then finally I said, you know what? I can't afford to give you money anymore. And they stopped calling. They stopped sending birthday cards. and they only called for money, and so I basically wrote them off. But my brother Jason, my grandmother Jenny said, is the good one. Sherman was the youngest, Marilyn was next, and then Jason, 2 years younger than me and myself.
So, in a nutshell, what did they do? I'm just curious. Did they do, were they waiters,
Yeah.
waitresses, art? What did they do?
Sherman became a cab driver in New York City.
Okay.
Jason had a successful cash business.
Okay, I'm not going to ask, but yeah.
You know, and Marilyn would sell used, buy and sell used artifacts and goods in markets on the street.
When you say artifacts and goods, are we talking antique collectibles or just anything she could come across?
Anything that can come across that was redeemable.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
And
I was curious because you all had these hardships. The way you're describing
Stephen,
Jason would.
Let me jump in, Steve.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We've got a caller with a trivia question from Connecticut. Go ahead, caller.
Go ahead. Hi. Who am I talking to?
Well, hello, Steve. This is Wayne Botb. How are you?
Wayne. How you doing? Oh, what perfect timing. Okay. Go ahead with the let's get the trivia out of the way. Get the trivia out of the way. Go ahead.
I believe it was the monotones.
You don't believe you know. I know you know. Okay, so now let's get to a more accomplished thing here. Wayne, healthy, happy New Year. Wayne, let me introduce you to Alan. Alan, Wayne. You guys should meet off air. Why? Because Wayne has a radio program in the New England area, several radio programs, highly successful. And he's also gotten into the rare book business because of hearing, what we do. But Alan, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't Alan be a perfect guest for the Authors Hour show you do?
Absolutely perfect. Matter of fact, send me an email at waynewnri@yahoo.com.
I'll get it for you.
We'll schedule you on a future show.
I will set you guys up in an email. I don't know if you got that, but don't worry about it. I'll make sure after the show.
Another thing on that monotone song, The Book of Love, it's so popular, a very iconic American song, but yet it only reached number 5 on the charts.
Yeah, okay. And if you want to, the ultimate landmark in doo-wop, symbolizing its death, unfortunately, was Randy and the Rainbow's Denise. Because I don't remember what night Ed Sullivan was on. I think it was a Tuesday, a Monday, a Sunday, whatever, a Monday, a Tuesday. But the night that the Beatles hit, Denise and doo-wop rock and roll was alive and well and didn't look like it was going to die.
And American Bandstand.
Yeah, and all of that.
I grew up on that.
Well,
I had a garage band when I started out.
What did you play when you vocals and?
I was a keyboard and a frontman.
Yeah, well, with the
group it was a knockoff from the British invasion that came through. And we got hooked on it. We were, 12 to 15 years old. And, we come up with a group. We held our own dances and sold our own tickets at the fire department. And we had our own battle of the band. And we really got into it, even as a polymath entrepreneur back then when I was a young teenager. And the name of our group was Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror.
O period, T period.
Wow, that sounds more like heavy metal than doo-wop. But
I got a real good find this week for a book. Let me test your mind. The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith.
Huh?
Does that ring a bell with you?
No. I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. was in the Hollywood Flames when they sang Buzz, Buzz, Buzz like a bumblebee. But when I was trying to bring out with Denise was the last doo-wop song. It went from number 7 going down up to 92. And hello, Beatles, what's that guy's name?
You'll listen to the audience.
Listen, everybody.
Crazy though with this book.
Wayne, can you
Who's
stay?
calling?
Can you stay on the line? We got to hit commercial break. Stay on the line.
I just want to reference. Okay.
We'll be back after these commercial words. Welcome back, book lovers and doo-wop lovers. It seems we got a bunch of them too. But we are talking with Alan Benowitz and Wayne Barber. If you want to join the conversation, all you got to do is dial 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. How to do a dramatic reading of phone books or how to make phone numbers sound interesting. I think I'll write the book. Anyway, before we go any further, okay, Wayne, how can Alan reach you slowly, clearly, so he can get that information and then you guys can communicate from there?
Wayne, WNRI, @yahoo.com.
Can you repeat that a little louder?
Wayne,
Wayne WNRI
@yahoo.com.
Wayne WNRI @yahoo.com. WAYNE WNRI @yahoo.com. When you guys come up with a date, say that again, Wayne.
That's the call letters for our radio station.
Right, and that's how he can reach you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do get 200 emails a day.
Yeah, I know you do. That's I just wanted to make sure. Also, in Messenger, so I don't have to scroll through 18 months worth of messages, send me your address again.
Okay,
So
no
you
problem.
guys will hook up from there. Great. And
Wayne?
how's things, Wayne? Let me ask you this. What's going on recently with you? Is it still a big thing, or is it settled down, the wonderful world
This
of rare
past week,
books?
I interviewed Sam Kelly, Human History on Drugs, and I thought the phone was going to blow up and the email was going to blow up from around the world while we were on the air. It was that popular.
Well,
And I got to let our listeners know, yours and mine, that the fastest growing segment in our industry right now is poetry.
really?
2000, since 2019 to 2025, that particular genre is up an astounding 21% in sales.
Have you ever heard or have you ever done any business on whatnot.com?
No, I haven't.
Whatnot.com is the new eBay. Okay. I mean, it's just an amazing platform. We have somebody that is moving thousands of books a month off of it and getting really decent prices. And what he's selling is amazing. Surprisingly so. But my question really was more personal, Wayne. Are you still involved? You were really going after, getting books, and are you still buying and selling on the antiquarian side?
I'm getting most of them given to me by donations that people hear about me and just say, come and take them.
Wow.
I've got over 7,000 books now.
Are you almost out of space?
Bookstore set up. I started an online bookstore out of my garage.
Yeah, you were telling me that. So now you're at 7,000. Wow. Okay, you're going to run out of space.
Anybody that does the clean outs and all that with real estate deals, they have no way to get rid of them. And I concentrate on the libraries, on their once-a-year Friends of the Libraries and historical societies, because they have no estimate of value.
Well, let me tell you something. Wait, let me say something on that note. And I'm glad you brought this up, especially with 7,000 books. It's easy to get 7,000 books. It's very hard to get 7,000 good books. But if what you are saying, and if I'm wrong, correct me, if what you are saying is you go in and at the end of the sale, you take out whatever they have left, is that it?
Nope, they're calling me the day before the sales, and I get
Ah, okay.
because they want to make sure they're not giving something away. And they
Gotcha.
a fair estimate, or a lot of times they'll give it to me. But it's amazing what's still out there, and people that throwing them in the landfills.
Well, when they donate to a library sale, I got to say it's a little different because they're donating with cause usually, or they're donating to get the books out of my house. But library sales for a book buyer are it's the best place that anybody can go to hunt for books under one roof. I mean, I don't know how many books they have at those
I
sales.
disagree with you, Steve. I disagree. I think the best place for me in the last 5 years has been estate sales. Those two people, and you get the first dibs in there before they take them off the shelf.
Well, yes, I'm not arguing with you. You know, let's say they're tied per se, but estate sales is a whole different ball game than library sales. If you go to an estate sale, they either know what they're doing or they don't, and then they still tend to overprice the junk and underprice the good stuff. But at a library sale, it's like, you know, some of the library sales that we used to go to up north were 80, 100,000 books, 70, 50,000 books. And, you know, you would get up and be there at 2 o'clock in the morning to be number one in line, you know, unless the room had, you know, unless the library had 3 different places, you can only be first somewhere. But when it comes to finding undervalued books in quantity, the library sales, you know, statistically, I'm not arguing with you, Wayne. I'm saying they're both very good, but the law of averages is much more in your favor if you go to one of those big library sales. I mean, I once saw a guy pay.
At the time value. I look at the time value. If I go to an estate sale, I'm usually maybe one of 3 people that are there that they've called in the specialist.
True.
If the person has an estate, a very valuable piece of property, he's usually got upscale books.
True. No, for you, the way you're describing it, yeah, for you personally, estate sales would be much better than libraries once you start talking about, you know, time factors. But where you stand a chance of making the best scores in quantity, you know, you're not going to have 80,000 books in a home. But yeah, they're both great places to go. Alan.
I've got a question for Alan.
Go ahead.
You still on the line?
Yes, of course. I was just trying to bring you back in. I'm sorry.
Hey, Alan, I got a question for you. I've got a few authors now. I've interviewed 600 and change on the show.
I couldn't hear you.
You know, I go how the process. We get a lot of emails on the process of a book. And some of the more experienced authors now are not going with Amazon and KDP. They're going independent publishing and limiting the amount of books and going back to the old system of numbering them and getting more money for the book, and they control the inventory.
Did you hear the question? I got the last 2/3 of it. Did you hear it clearly, Alan?
I did not hear clearly the beginning, but I did hear the last part.
Okay. Let me try and correct me, Wayne, if I didn't hear it all right. But you're talking about rather than the way people have been publishing, they're going back to the older ways of publishing. And when you said numbers, are you talking about limited editions?
Yeah, limited edition, like 200 books, but command a higher price, all autographed, and sell them for $29.95 instead of Amazon selling them for $12.
I'll tell you what, I'm not arguing with that, dependent on who the author is and the book is. You know, there's an old joke in the trade about limited editions. You know, why did the publisher only make 65 copies? Because he didn't think he could sell 66, and in limited editions, I will tell you, I'm skeptical, dependent on who the limited edition is and what the contributions to the book are. Is it, is it like the limited editions club? We got Matisse doing the drawings, and you got James Joyce signing, as the author for Ulysses, or Picasso illustrating Lustrada, or those kind of things. Edward Weston's photographs, in one book. It depends. That some markets we would do better with that. From what I know of what Alan's goal is, definitely not for that. Although, you're doing an upcoming photography book on Wayne with the photography book. I kind of agree with you. And I'd add one little catch-all to it. You would have to have copies made, and what you need to do, and it could get expensive, is you want to put out a deluxe limited edition, just what Wayne's talking about. Ansel Adams, all the other ones, they all did that. Maybe not, it doesn't have to be a fancy binding, but you got a beautiful glossy hardcover book, and let's say it's numbered and signed, one of 200, and in only those 200 copies, you have an original photograph, that you lay in or tip into the book, and the book and the photograph become that collectible package. Just doing it for any book, I would say maybe, but I know with Alan's book, it's volume. He wants to sell more volume, but that's a great idea for the photography book.
At one point, Steve, my original goal was to share my story with friends and family, but after the book talks and the national publicity, it has taken off a little different path, and I'm grateful and humbly gratified by that reception to my book.
Well, yeah, you've got what to be satisfied. Listen, let me say something, guys, just so you know. We're only going till 11 o'clock today. Alan, we're going to pick up the end of your interview from May 3rd. I checked my calendar. And Wayne,
Steve, I know you got a very
and you too, Wayne. And we haven't spoken in a while, so let's get together somehow on your air, my air, whatever. Or just go from there. I really want to know how, what more things you're doing, kind of the highlights of what you found and all that. So for right now, Wayne, I'm going to ask you, give the audience information, and healthy, happy New Year to you, yours, and everybody.
No, I'm not plugging it on your show. I wouldn't.
Oh, come on. That's the whole idea.
I'm very, very available.
Wayne Barber, the Author's Hour on WNRI in Rhode Island. You got a great thing going, Wayne.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. And we will talk again. Alan, one more time. We got about 2 minutes left in this segment because we got to go right up to 11 o'clock. How can people reach you off air?
Okay. They can reach me by email, h-allen, A-L-L-E-N, @gate.net. My website is Child of Silence, A Blessing in Disguise.com. My phone number is 305-586-1181. I'd just like to say that the memoir's central theme is one of hope and inspiration, demonstrating that perseverance and a positive attitude, an outlook, can lead to a rewarding life. And it's inspirational.
It absolutely is. And I got to tell you, I would love to have you on again in a few months, because the way you talk, as I said this before, I'm going to say it again, the way you talk as a writer about the book has really evolved. It's normal that it would evolve. It was good to start with. Now, it's like right off your back.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, we got 59:18 on the clock. If Roy Rogers and Dale Evans were book dealers, we'd be singing happy book sales and buys to you till we meet again. But actually, I think I'm just going back to bed. Buenas noches, you all, and we will see you all. No, next week, Graham Osprey, forensic. No, that's Patrick. Graham Osprey is a forensic specialist that works with government institutions, and if you ever needed a forensic document inspector, and I know you know what that is, you've probably hired many of them in your life, Alan, for in the court business, or maybe lended. Forensic document specialist. We will have him on next week. Captain Hook, love you. Thank you very much for today's show, and we'll see you all next week. Ciao for now.